stay tuned because for the next 60 minutes, Motorsports Unlimited is on the air. Hi, I'm Jerry Bryant, and these are the lovely ladies of Motorsports. And all this hour, we're going to have 60 minutes of action-packed excitement. All kinds of exciting things will happen. And we got the famous Bill Wildt, and we got all kinds of other good stuff that's happening all this hour. Motorsports Unlimited, 60 minutes of non-stop action. So let's go to the studio right now, huh?
Thanks, Jerry, and hi, everybody. Welcome to the studio headquarters of Chicagoland's most watched, most talked about Access television series. I'm Perry Williams, and this is the 586th edition of Motorsports Unlimited. Today we're going to teach you everything you need to know about powder coating. What's that? You've never heard of powder coating? Well, sit back and relax for the next hour because you're in for a treat. Powder coating is a process that combines near plating durability with color drama of the finest custom paints. It's literally revolutionizing the look in custom cars, motorcycles, snowmobiles, even airplanes. While powder coating combines the attributes of plating and painting, it is neither. What is it? Well, that's what you're going to learn on today's show. Let's join our lovely ladies of Motorsport as they arrive with powder coating expert Greg Leja.
Now don't worry, we're going to get to the powder coating process in a moment. We wanted to start the show with a little fun, and Greg's 28-foot Magnum is just the ticket. Let's meet him.
What you are looking at is two small block Chevys in the back of this absolutely gorgeous 28-foot Magnum boat. The thing that is of greatest interest to me is the colors of the motors. And Chuck, if you would go back to the motor shot and just show the audience that they're done in a beautiful, glossy blue and white. And that's kind of how this whole story starts today. As a matter of fact, I'm not really sure quite how to start the story, except to introduce you to one of the principal players, and then I'll explain how this all came about. First of all, if you would just step right over here, about just like that. I'm worried about the sun, all right?
No problem.
Okay, and if you would please introduce yourself to our audience.
Greg Leja, Gorilla Powder Coating.
All right. Greg, I spotted him with this boat on the river. You know, the past few weeks we've been trying to bring you boating shows, and there's a few brave souls out there. And I spotted this boat on the trailer. And we're going to show it to you on the trailer in a minute. And I saw these outdrives sticking out the back, these beautiful blue and white outdrives. And Chuck, if you would broaden your shot so the audience can see the whole boat. The whole boat is done in blue and white. And I saw immediately that the whole thing had been powder coated. Now, our regular viewers are going to recall that I have mentioned several times on the program how I would like to do a show about powder coating. I'd like to do a show about cadmium plating, about nickel plating, and about chrome plating. And I'd also like to do something about anodizing. I haven't gotten any of them done yet. Today, we're going to learn how to powder coat, because when I started talking to the owner of this gorgeous boat with these beautifully powder coated outdrives, come to find out he's got his own powder coating operation, knows all about it, and has agreed to show us how it's done. Am I correct? Except for a couple little secret things.
A couple little secret things, but absolutely we'll show you guys the process from start to finish.
Okay, this is going to be very cool. I can tell you this, he's had the outdrives, this powder coat, and as we get into the story, we'll tell a little bit further as to my understanding of powder coating, how I came to get interested in all of that. We want to get the boat out of the way because we are right now taking up the ramp here, and we want to get it on the trailer, and I want to show you the outdrives. But this is something that you need to know about. In addition to that, our sharp eye viewer is going to recognize that we have a brand new girl here today on Motorsports Unlimited, and I'd like you to tell the folks who you are.
I'm Robin Hole.
And Robin, are you having a good time so far?
Fantastic.
Okay, you know what to make of all this, right?
Not really.
Well, you'll see. It's going to be fun all day, and Gloria, you're going to show her how, right?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to take the boat out of the water now. Again, we couldn't resist doing this with the boating takes. I've been trying to bring you boating for so long, and I wanted you to see how I met Greg. And we're going to take this out of the water and look at the outdrives. But the most important thing about today's program is today you're going to learn about powder coating.
Bill keeps talking about powder coating, but so far I'm not sure what he's talking about. Perhaps we'll find out now because we're going to check out Greg's outdrives.
What an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous boat. One would be tempted when you look at a boat like this to call it a cigarette boat, but for those that don't know, Cigarette is a brand, and this is not a cigarette brand boat, but it's pretty close to it, and we're going to get the explanation here in a second. As you can see, we've got a new player in the game, and you are?
John.
John what?
John Leja.
Sounds like you're related.
Oh, I am.
You're the dad.
I've known this kid all my life, all his life.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Greg is pretty proud of John. Apparently, John is the tech guy in the group, right?
Correct.
Okay, and has a lot of technical background. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing John a few more times on Motorsports Unlimited, because apparently you have some experience with high-tech composites and all the rest of it.
That's a fact. We used to make airplane components.
Well, this is the guy we're going to need to talk to a little bit. I've got a feeling he's got a lot that our audience can benefit from. But what I want to talk about right now is, as the boat was making the approach, when we were doing the approach shot, John was telling me all about the boat, and Greg, I think he knows the boat better than you do.
Okay. The boat is a 28 Magnum Maltese. The boat was made by Don Arno, who invented cigarettes. They were literally next door companies. Cigarette was on one company on 188th. Magnum was right next door. When he made the 28 Maltese and the 28 Cigarette, all he did was roll the mold between the two companies.
As a matter of fact, I think your dad knows the story better than you. Go ahead and tell him you're part of it.
Actually, this was the first boat that he made with the new company, and he sold it to a guy named Richard Messerschmidt, and we picked it up from him. Now, Greg did a redo on the job, the top end, doing full roller cams on it, full roller rockers on it, and also everything that makes the engine breathe easier. That's where you get the biggest bang for the buck.
One question on it. Let me ask you this. That's a good point. You're right, of course. An engine is basically a big air pump. The more air you can get out and get in and get out, the more power you can make and all that. However, boats are a specific application in that you don't run them at high RPM. How much is to be gained from improving breathing if you only run the motors at 4,000 or 5,000 RPM?
Even at mid-range, you get better mileage. That's the whole point, is to just reduce the drag of the incoming air and the drag of the outgoing exhaust.
So you think there's a significant achievement to be gained by working with breathing, even though we're not going to turn these motors up 8,000, 9,000 RPM?
I sure do.
Improves the torque.
And we can see it not only in torque, which is the starting RPM that we get, but we see it in mid-range cruise by the fuel consumption.
Okay, this is actually bad news for all the guys out there running the sportsman stock cars and the hobby stock cars who think they didn't have to do expensive port work because the engine's only going to turn 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. You guys are saying they ought to do it on those too.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
$25,000 heads on hobby stockers. What do you think?
What a deal.
Yeah, we are our own worst enemies. Been through it a million times. In any event, fascinating boat, of course, built, as he just explained, built by the guy that started the cigarette boat company, then left it and went to make his own company and rolled literally the hull out of the one shop to his next shop, and apparently made it a higher line boat then?
Correct. Magnum Marine is still around, same as Cigarette is, and their boats start out about 1.2 million.
Ow. When he said 1.2, I was thinking, gee, 100 and a quarter, I can probably,
1.2 million. They're very expensive boats.
In any event, what I was most excited about, Chuck, show the audience this absolutely exquisite transom area of this boat, and you will get an idea of why I was so attracted to it when I saw it. one of the most important things is, as I looked at it, I've been wanting to do shows about powder coating for a long time, and I took a look at all this and I says, this can't be paint. This is too nice. This is almost, I would characterize it as almost a porcelain-like finish. It has almost a porcelain-like finish. More than that, the first question I asked when I saw the boat and I was talking to Greg, I said, well, did you just do this? Is this all brand new? Because I was looking and checking, I don't know if you can even see it down here. It's absolutely perfect. And the fact of the matter is, apparently this was done over a year ago. The boat has been used a lot, and it's still absolutely perfect, which sure indicates that powder coating is durable.
If it's done correctly, yes, it's an amazingly durable product.
Okay, this is what we want to talk about on today's program. Our program really starts two places, and I'll see if I can characterize this correctly. As a person that has been a machinist for many, many years and has my own, I actually have my own machine shop and has made parts, the one aggravating thing is you no sooner make the part and it starts to deteriorate because you've got all fresh metal surfaces and all that, and I swear in 2 days it'll have a little coating of rust or corrosion on it. Inside of a week you're going to have to remachine the surfaces again because of the oxidation process and all that. So you have, people that make things will understand what I'm talking about. It's very frustrating to know what do you do with that part after you get done machining it, or for that matter, if you have a fabricating shop, you do a lot of welding because, of course, in the welding process, you're returning the material to its molten state, and then, of course, it's solidifying again, and there is nothing coating that, and that rusts almost immediately and oxidizes almost immediately. So the question is always, how are we going to protect this? What are we going to do? I personally, when I make machine parts like tooling for my benders and things like that, I usually have them CAD plated. But it's always a question, depending on the application, what are you going to do with it? Well, one of the things that has become pretty cool, really, is powder coating. Are you with me so far?
Absolutely.
Okay, you understand the problem I'm talking about?
Yes, sir, I do.
When you make parts, boy, nature wants them back real quick, doesn't it?
Boy, we see them from the fabricator a matter of hours old, some of them, and they begin to rust.
It's never ceased to amaze me how quick I get done welding up an elaborately welded part, and literally, if I leave it go in the morning and go to lunch and I come back and I can already see the little rust around the welded areas and all that stuff. It's very frustrating. So the idea is you got to do something with it. You can't leave it the way it is. Now the second part of the story, Robin, are you following all this so far?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
Not that complicated yet.
Pretty simple.
Okay, well, it gets hard. Believe me, later on you're going to tear apart an engine for us.
Really?
I'm teasing. She doesn't know I'm kidding, right?
No, she doesn't.
Okay. In any event, second part of the story is many, many years ago, and I hate to tell you how many years ago, when I was a kid, like every other kid, a boy kid, I guess I could say, because the girls have told me they didn't do that, but like every other boy kid, I had bicycles, and I always wanted to paint my own bicycle. Always wanted to paint the frame. I'm going to tell you something. I tried it a million different ways. There is no way that you could match that beautiful paint on like a Schwinn bicycle that they come with. I tried it with enamel, of course. That was the easiest thing from the hardware store, and that looked awful. I tried it with lacquer and hand rubbing the lacquer. There is no way that matched what the original paint looked like. I even went so far as to go to I thought I had it. I'd go to the hobby store, you know what they used to call dope for doing models, and I did it with dope. And that also didn't work. Well, come to find out years later what Schwinn had going for them, which is, would it be fair to say, kind of a secret at that time?
Yes, very much so.
Very much so. Okay, so it's kind of a secret at that time. What those frames were powder coated. And there was no way that we could, with our little spray cans, achieve that kind of finish and that kind of a durability that they have with those bicycles. A few years ago, and I don't know how long ago, it seems to me about 10, but about how long has powder coating been commercially available for everybody?
It's really taken off in about the last 10 years, and it's the Clean Air Act that drove it, really.
Really?
Trying to get the solvents out of paints.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Oh, this is a pollution-free process. It has no solvents. And as a result, you can lay down an evener coat. You don't have to worry about running, waiting for the paint to gel or dry, because it's just magnetically attracted to the part, and it just lays down an even coat, depending on the magnetism, if you will.
Okay, that's going to confuse them right now. We're going to get into the magnetisms and all that. Folks, I'm having fun with this, and work with me because it's a little complicated. But there are reasons for knowing about powder coating, and as I've explained, the one reason is you've got to do something with parts after you make them. You just can't leave them bare because they will rust and deteriorate literally within a couple days. And beyond that, this story about the Schwinn bicycles and those wonderful, wonderful paint jobs they used to have. It turns out they weren't paint. It was a trick on us back at that time. No wonder we couldn't match the durability and the quality of those finishes. And now what we find, we go to car shows and motorcycle shows all the time, and we see for example, if you take a look at this, these beautiful outdrives, and they're powder coated all to match. This is not powder coated. I assume, is that gel coat, or is that okay? They're saying yes. This is all gel coat here, and somehow they're able to match. And I've seen this on show cars all the time and on show bikes. They're able to match the gel coats, and for that matter, these beautiful custom paint jobs. They are able to match the powder coating to that. And so we are seeing at car shows, this has become very common in the last 5 or 6 years, we are seeing engines and transmissions all powder coated to match the appearance of the car. And on the motorcycles where the engines are very visible, we see engine cases, cylinders, cylinder heads, all powder coated to match the color of the paint. Have I got it right?
Yes.
So we're, in a sense, we're kind of talking about a revolution here.
Well, we're talking about new technology that achieves that particular dimension that people want to get to, because it withstands heat, gives it durability, gives it long-lasting color.
Right, and obviously, it's a little bit. This stuff reminds me a little bit of titanium. Titanium was really created for the space program, and they use it in submarines. And probably what most people don't realize, the most common use of titanium is in food processing plants because it has even less corrosion than stainless steel. So titanium's uses are all commercial uses. We run into it and say, oh, light as aluminum, strong as steel. That's for us in racing. Same thing with powder coating. This really has most of its application for commercial purposes.
Yes.
But we car guys and motorcycle guys take one look at that and see bright colors, durable finish. That's for us, and we've kind of pirated it.
Absolutely.
And that's the fun part.
Yes. Yeah. It's a ball. Come on back to the plant. Let's show you how it's done.
That's what we're going to do. So what we've got here is experts in the field that just happen to be boaters, and that's how I met these guys. They happen to be boaters, and as I got to talk to them about this beautiful powder coating, they say, oh yeah, well that's what we do. That's what we've got. Would you be willing to share the process with it and show our audience how powder coating is done? They said sure, and folks, that's what we're going to do today.
If I understand correctly, all of the blue and white on the outdrives of Greg's boat is not paint. It's powder coating. It's apparently much more durable, but just as pretty. Now Bill wanted to do one more thing before we went to the shop.
We just want to take a quick moment here to expand on something we did on last week's program when we talked to you about the power trim tabs. This is essentially what we're talking about, although these are not, Chuck, if you would show the audience, those are not really trim tabs, those are K-planes?
Yes.
But it does kind of the same thing as trim tabs?
Exactly the same.
Okay, let me just explain, because I know we didn't have an example to show you last week, and I want to show you what these things actually do. In effect, as I explained, they sort of extend the hull and almost trick the props into thinking that the hull is longer. But in addition to that, you can level the hull if you're going down, you've got a heavy load on one side more so than the other. These things, and if you would just go ahead and pull this one up a little bit. These things operate independently. You can hold it right there. And Chuck, can you see the one on the other side? Is that visible? Go ahead and bring it up and tell me if it becomes visible. Is it visible, Chuck? Now that one, now those things can be operated independently, and for fierce acceleration, what you want to do is drop them down, because it helps push the nose of the boat down under hard acceleration, and then start picking them up right away as soon as you're up on plane, because you don't want it slowing the boat down, and then to use it to balance the attitude of the boat. And if I haven't said it right, Greg, go right ahead.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you for letting us use this for an example. We tried to show it to you last week. We didn't have a good prop for it, and this is one heck of a prop.
I'm not sure what Bill was talking about because I didn't see last week's show, but he says it will make sense to those that watch every week. And you're supposed to watch every week. Now let's go to the shop and learn about powder coating.
Probably the most surprising thing to me about powder coating is the durability. Chuck, if you would, come in on this prop. This is a stainless steel prop that's been powder coated, and it has been used for a full season. Absolutely incredible. The props that I've purchased that all have sort of a factory, kind of a real high endurance paint on them. Even if you don't hit anything, if you don't have any strikes with the prop, just the water actually wears away the paint, particularly on the leading edges of the prop. I'm just amazed, truly amazed at how durable this stuff is. Greg, please, if you would, come on in here. You're the guy that can explain this better than I do. Have us stand over here by the girls, please. Step right on over there. Step right on in. Durability, let's talk about it. You've used the props.
Yes, props have been run a full season. This is done in accordance with the prototype work done with Mer Cruiser. These props will outlast a polished stainless finish.
I'm absolutely astonished in that. And not just that, Chuck, come over here. Obviously, we started our shot on the, and matter of fact, this is very cool. These guys, obviously being in the business, they can have their tools kind of all color-coded for their shop. Those are pipe wrenches that they use here. It's beautiful. I'd love to have that in my shop. And of course, the valve covers look great and all that. But what particularly interests me, and I don't know if this is going to show on camera, this is, if I can hold this up with a white background, maybe something like this. Chuck, can you come in on that? Does that look as pretty as it does in person, Chuck? Does it show that it's like a candy red or pink? Does it show that? Kind of, he's showing me. Maybe leave your shot there. Don't try to chase me. Let me come down here. I'll grab another color. Maybe this works better. What do you think, Chuck? I'm trying to move it around so it catches the light a little bit. This is exactly the same kind. This is not anodized. This is powder coated, and it's sort of a translucent powder coating over a silver, I presume.
Yes.
Okay, that looks very much like the Schwinn bike finishes that we used to try to duplicate.
It's the exact candies that they used to use.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Well, no wonder we couldn't do it with our little hardware store spray cans.
No way anybody would have known.
Okay.
Not only that, technology was not available at that time for smaller companies than that to do it easily.
Right, let me make that point again, that what we're dealing with here is something that has been around for a while for big-time commercial companies that do high production operations. What's new within the last 5 or 10 years is being available to racers and things like that.
Available to smaller companies like mine and a bit smaller so that they could buy the equipment. The equipment was very, very expensive to begin with.
Right, you're going to see that in a minute. This is unfortunately not something, after I got in here and he showed me how it was done, I said, boy, that's not something a guy can exactly do in his backyard, but it's kind of important for you to see how it's done because the results of this stuff really, I can think of things like when I was racing motorcycles, I can think of almost everything on the bike that I would have powder coated instead of try to paint because the paint just wasn't durable.
For durability, absolutely.
And if it wasn't pretty, for racing purposes, it's useless.
True.
If powder coating were
you're looking for.
Right, if powder coating were only available in khaki, it'd be wonderful that it was durable, but we wouldn't be interested.
No, not at all.
Okay, so it's the colorfulness that's important. Robin, if you take a look at this, and Chuck, come in on this, this is probably the most difficult thing I can imagine, because my question was, when you paint this stuff, and I'm using the word paint, and it's not paint, it's powder coating, but I'm using the word paint. When you do this, this would be something that would be literally impossible to paint because it's got so many areas that go under here and all that, and yet, and I know you can't see it on camera, maybe if we do the end of it, Chuck, can you focus on the end of that thing? Does that work? Tell me, nod your head. Okay. It's paint. It's not painted. It's powder coated. Forgive me, but it finds all the little nooks and crannies in there. So in that sense, powder coating is better than paint on an item like that, which you probably could not paint.
True. True.
Okay, and you're going to see why in a minute. Now, how do you suppose, Robin? You were asked. Robin, I'm trying to get her to participate on the program. On the way from the boat dock over here, she's asking me all kinds of questions. How do you suppose they get that stuff to cover in there and underneath and all that?
I had thought that it might be a powder applied and then fired, like something you did in shop class. That's what came to me.
She's not far off, is she?
No, not at all.
But then the question is, how did they get it like in underneath these lips and all that?
I have no idea.
Go ahead.
I would guess some type of special brush they use.
No, this is pretty cool. We're going to get into all this, right? We're going to show us?
Correct.
Right. The only thing he's not going to show us, we're not going to talk about, is how long the pieces go in the oven and all that, because that's years of experience and all, and that's fine. That really, that's if somebody wants to do it commercially, you go do your own, but you figure it out yourself. But he's willing to show every bit of this process of how this works. All right, I wanted you to just see some of the people. And by the way, could you have a cooler gumball machine in this? What about those colors, girls?
Beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous. It works with our costumes and everything. So, yes, exactly. So the stuff is colorful, durable, and is now widely used in race cars and race motorcycles and show cars and show boats, for that matter. As a matter of fact, hopefully before the end of the program, we're going to show you. I came to find out that boat of yours has been featured in a magazine.
Yes, in Hot Boat Magazine.
Right. Hot Boat is sort of the Bible of the guys with boats like that.
There's two magazines, Power Boat and Hot Boat. They kind of complement each other, road and track, car and driver sort of a thing. They sounded out about the information on the boat, and they called me up, asked me to do an article on it. Did a 5-page article on it.
Okay, and a little bit later, we're going to talk about a little bit more, and I want to show you the pictures from that magazine, because if it were me, I'd sure want to show it off, and I bet you do too.
It's a beautiful boat. Thank you.
It really is. Okay, folks, we're going to. How are we going to start? How are we going to show the audience how this was nice showing the finished pieces, and that's always compelling, but we want the audience to understand how this works. So where do we start?
I think we'll start out at metal prep, because everything starts with good preparation.
Boy, you're not kidding. And I've spent a couple of hours with Greg now, and we can't spend enough time telling you how important metal prep is. It really determines how it's going to come out.
It's 90% of it. If the part is not ready for paint, like in any body work situation, it's a waste of time, because it's not going to stay on, it's not going to adhere, it's not going to shine, it's going to flat. It's not very, very good.
Okay, folks, so we're going to come back. We're going to move our stuff around here a little bit, and we are going to start in the prep area.
We were looking forward to seeing how these beautiful parts are powder coated. While the guys are moving the equipment, it gives us a chance to introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Robin Hall.
And I'm Gloria Walters.
Now let's get to the metal prep area and learn what's involved in powder coating.
this is the conveyor system that the pieces are hung on after they're prepared in a sandblasting cabinet. We're going to explain that in a minute. I started here because this is important, and you're going to find out why in a minute. Greg is going to explain it, because it's not just hooks like hanging things on a rope to run them through this. This is a kind of an acid dip thing. We're going to explain all that in a minute. But it's not just a rope. It's important to note the fact that it's all metal, the hooks are metal and all that, and Greg's going to explain why in a minute. But before we get to that, because we're getting ahead of ourselves, first of all, I'm going to have him tell you his name, because I've tried 14 times now to say Amanzio, and I still think I'm saying it wrong. Tell the folks your name.
Amanzio Abraham.
Okay, and you are the guy that actually does most of the powder coating, right? You're actually what they call dusting?
Yes, I do.
You're the guy that does it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, we brought him out here because I don't want to handle this thing. If you would hold this piece up. What we have here, this is a piece of metal, this is a piece of steel that's going to be powder coated. And Chuck, if you come in on it, all the way in it, I want you to note that for our regular viewers that are familiar with the sandblasting process, they can see that this entire surface is peened in sort of a velvet-like finish. The sandblasting does a couple of things. It takes off all of the impurities, all of the paint. This is another one of those processes like plating that you have to start out absolutely hospital clean. Now, do I have it right so far, John?
Absolutely.
Okay, after it's sandblasted, in order to achieve this, and by the way, Greg pointed out to me earlier, the greatest of care has to be taken in this. Even the smallest spot of oil or imperfection is going to ruin the outcome of the final thing. Very much like plating, you have to be extremely careful. But after it's sandblasted, then the piece, and if you would, Amanzio, go ahead and hang the thing, and Chuck, follow him along so you can see how this is done. And again, I want the audience to pay particular attention to the fact that these are metal hooks that this is going on, and we're going to explain that in a minute. Before we explain that, Robin, am I going too fast for you?
A little bit.
Okay, I will try to slow down. Tell us what's going to happen in the cabinet that's right behind us.
Okay, this is a spray wash system. What's going to happen here is we have a combination bath that's got a detergent in there to remove or lift off any of the light oils that are still residual on there. A sort of a deep cleaning, if you will.
Like me putting my fingerprints all over it. Go ahead.
Oh, that's got to come off. We have a slight acid etch that'll take place and get down to the bare raw metal, and then immediately a phosphating action takes place where it will convert the coating to an iron phosphate. Iron phosphate does not rust. So essentially what we're doing is we're cleaning it, we're etching it, and we're making it rust proof.
Okay, now that's what happens here. Chuck, if you can see any of that in there, I'll pull this aside just a minute, because in a minute when we turn this thing on, we're going to have to get the girls out of the way because there's a possibility they could be splashed. But it's going essentially through all of these spray booths here that perform a different function, from cleaning to phosphate coating and all the rest of it, as it goes through and continues then on down on the conveyor belt. It goes into an oven that takes and dries it off so that it's ready to be dusted. Now, don't go away for a second. Greg, I explained earlier that it was important that these were all metal hooks here, because this is an important part of powder coating that is not a part of the painting process. Explain.
Actually, it's a part of the painting process also.
No, he keeps calling powder coating painting. I won't let him do that.
Yeah.
We don't paint, we dust, right?
Correct, we dust. We don't squirt, we dust.
He's the powder coating guy. Listen to this. Okay.
Essentially what happens, the conveyor has got a positive charge on it, which is what causes the paint to wrap on the part. The whole conveyor
Stop
system,
right there. Wrap on the part. Remember earlier I asked you when you had that purple thing, I said, how did they get it to paint inside there? It actually, what happens, because it takes a electrical charge, and the dust that they put on it is the opposite electrical charge, it actually goes under and finds its way and clings around, what he's called wrapping. It actually wraps around the edges. Okay, go ahead.
correct, very correct.
I'm smart. I told you, this wouldn't take me long.
No argument. So, as the parts go through the conveyor system, they're going to have a universal charge throughout the whole system. So all the hooks have to be metal, the conveyor has to be clean, and we have to be able to transfer electricity to the conveyor on a continuous basis.
And is the conveyor negative or positive?
Positive drown.
Okay, so this is a positive charge coming into the part. And then that means...
No, positive, yes, into the part.
Into the part. That means there would be a negative charge in the dust.
Correct.
Go ahead.
And that gives us our absolute best wrap capabilities. Okay. So, as the parts now move through the system, they will remain on the conveyor throughout the entire time, through the dusting process, then they'll come off the conveyor. And we'll cover that as we get through it.
Okay, now what I want to do right now is, girls, I'd like you to move out of the way because I don't want you to get splashed, so if you guys would come right over here. And who's going to turn on the conveyor system and turn on the machine? You guys going to go right ahead. Greg, let's step over here so we don't get splashed, and we want the audience to see it. Go right ahead. Yes?
I have the turning on finger right here.
He told me you were the technical guy, so go right ahead. Go ahead and do it.
What we do is make sure that there's no obstruction, and turn on the pump. Pressure system gets charged and comes to spray.
Now, Chuck, is that visible at all that there's spraying going on in there? Okay, it goes through 3 different spray sections, and those 3 spray sections are, once again?
Phosphate, water, and a non-chrome seal, the rust preventative, and the adhesion promoter.
And then comes out the other end of this thing, goes through an oven to dry it off.
Correct.
Okay, folks, I hope you've got the idea. This is how powder coating is done. He's trying to hold me back. He doesn't want me to get sprayed. I'm used to getting sprayed. Don't go away, because from here, we're going to show you how these parts are dusted.
Boy, it does take a lot of work to prepare parts for powder coating. I must admit, I'm still not sure what they mean by dusting. Let's find out.
We are in the heart of what would best be called a spray booth, except they don't spray paint in here at all. They actually dust things, and you're going to see how that works in a minute. The girls are all afraid because they think we're going to get paint all over their costumes, right, Robin?
Right.
And we're not going to get anything like it. She doesn't know that the last thing I would do is damage one of our costumes. So as long as you're in the costume, you're in real good hands. We protect them thoroughly. And by the way, one thing real quick here, we have a special thank you to Robin. Robin, you're a mom, right? Mm-hmm. And this is Mother's Day as we shoot this piece, and all the other moms are home with their kids. So in your case, you came to do the program. We very much appreciate it. What are your kids' names?
Anna and Michael.
And you want to say anything to them?
Just stay cool. I'll be home in a while.
That's right. Home for Mother's Day dinner? And they better have good presents, right?
Right.
Absolutely. And yes, go ahead.
I'd like to say Happy Mother's Day to my mother.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope you're having a great day and really enjoying yourself. Now let's get back to this, because Amunzio, am I saying it right?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm close enough. I think this is a good guy. I'm close. I'm pretty close. Okay, what he's got here is what looks like a spray gun, except it's really not. It's actually a dusting gun, if that's a better way to say it. And girls, we are going to start blowing stuff around now. So if you would, I'd like you to step out, go right to the left of the camera, go right ahead to the left of the camera, and I better step out of the way too. Let's go ahead and start up the conveyor again, and I'm going to step out here and try to narrate this as he does it. Here we go, and as you can see, Chuck, I don't know if that's visible in the camera shot, it's actually like talcum powder the way this comes out, and we're going to see a couple of things here. Number one, because of this positive negative stuff, watch the way that dust wraps around to the opposite side of the frame. Even though he's not spraying on this side, the talcum powder, if you want to say it that way, is actually clinging to this side, because it's what they call a wrap. It actually wraps itself around. Now he will probably come around to this side to go ahead and touch it up and make sure that it's absolutely for sure that everything is covered. And this is literally all there is to it. This is a dusting process. Now I want to interrupt this for one little bit of a second, because I want you to show Amunzio, if you can, before you finish that up perfectly, can you erase a little corner for us? Just a little corner, just to show the audience. Is it just a little corner? Can you erase just a little bit, or no? Greg, if we're doing something bad, tell me. Step right over here, Greg. I just wanted to erase a little corner so the audience can see it's still powder.
Go ahead. Erase the yolk on the bike.
Just erase it, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, I want the audience to see this, because this is actually kind of interesting. This is actually kind of interesting. This is just air. Okay, that's enough. That's good. This is just air, and we just blew the, what I call talcum powder off, and now he's going to do it again, and I probably made him screw up the whole process. Or is that okay? That's not it'll be fine. Go right ahead. Go ahead and finish. I just wanted them to see that this is powder coating. We're not painting anything. This is all powder. Okay. While he's finishing this up, folks, we are going to go into the other room, and we're going to powder coat a couple of other pieces in a smaller cabinet. Don't go away. You're going to find this really interesting.
That is amazing. The powder clings to the part because of the magnetic charge. From here, the bicycle frame went into the oven. Now let's go into another part of the shop where Greg likes to do the smaller parts.
All right, we are now in another area of the shop, and this is where they do smaller parts here. What, probably a little easier to work on the small stuff? And the non-production items, I guess?
Non-production, and for specialty shoots or sample shoots for customers, it's a laboratory system.
Okay, so in other words, this is where the toys go, right?
Basically.
Yeah. Basically, this is where we do the boat stuff when we have fun with this kind of a thing. And we've got another player involved here, and you are?
Yeah.
Name.
Okay.
Say it.
Mike.
It's Miguel. He says it's okay to say Mike, but I'm going to say Miguel. I'm working. It's Miguel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm working hard at this, folks. I am. What do we do now? Again, the piece has been sandblasted. It's been through the dips and been through the wash, and it's also been cooled off. And something else, another point you wanted to mention, that you don't shoot parts hot?
We want to talk about shooting parts hot. A lot of people will go ahead and shoot a part at 400 degrees to get a real thick look to it. A lot of times when you have, say, like a frame, Harley frame with the yokes where it has that real thick look to it, if you do that, the adhesion quality is poor. It flakes off very easily. Think about too much glue. It breaks away easily. In this particular case, you want the powder to be on about 2 to 3 mils and bring the part up to temperature at the same time so the porosity of the metal accepts the flow of the powder as it starts to melt down and it get much better adhesion quality.
So you're talking about more than adhesion. You're almost talking about bonding.
Literally. That's literally what you're talking about is you're bonding it to it. You're bonding a color to it. That's how you get the durability of, say, like the boat drives you were looking at.
Okay, so the trick is then not to overdo it when you're putting the powder on, and if you want that deeper look, to come back and do it twice.
True. And it's kind of like a guy trying to spray paint a car very quickly back to back, trying to get it done. You got to take a little bit more time. To get that thicker look, you're going to have to take the time to let a part cool, and then reshoot it, then heat the part up, let it cool, and back and forth until you get the thickness that you're looking for.
Okay, show us how this is done. I understand. He actually says he knows how to do this. It's not just this guy.
I just saw the video.
Okay, go right ahead. Let's take a look, see what this is. Robin, did you think it was going to be like this?
Yes.
When we were on the way down, this is kind of what you envisioned when I explained it?
Yeah.
Gloria, how about you?
Yeah, I had a general idea.
Kind of an interesting way of putting a coating, or I guess a coating is the right word. We're going to talk about this afterwards with John, with his dad, who's real technical. This actually ends up being an epoxy coating. That's why it's so durable. It ends up being epoxy. Yes?
Would you say it's similar to like airbrushing, how they do that with the...
Pardon me?
Would you say it's similar to airbrushing?
No, not airbrushing is actually using a paint. You're actually using a paint with airbrushing. This isn't using a paint at all. This is actually dust, but you have to remember the reason this stuff adheres is because of the charge in the part and the opposite magnetic charge in the dust that's being blown on. That's why it adheres. You saw before when we blew a little bit of it off, it can be blown right off, you know. Okay, we've got the prop done, and this is going into the oven. This goes into the oven, and I think we got some valve covers we're going to do too. Okay, now we need the valve covers. This is very tight quarters in here, folks. This is the toy part. This is the fun part of being here. If the truth were known, most of it is all that production commercial stuff for radio cabinets and things like that, right?
Correct.
But this is the part you enjoy.
Oh, I have a ball with this stuff. This is where you can be creative, do things differently. And in spraying these parts, well, hell, you already sprayed a part one time. How'd you enjoy it?
I actually did, and believe it or not, and I am notorious when I paint of putting runs in it, and I didn't do a single thing wrong. They said it would have worked perfectly. Unfortunately, they went and erased it, so I can't show you.
Hey, Bill.
Okay, I'm going to give it a shot here.
A little bit further away, don't trigger. Leave it on all
Leave it on all the time? Okay.
Fill it in, there you go.
You better take a close look at that first.
Why?
I'm certainly no expert.
You missed a little bit?
I see a little
Here.
dusting area there.
That's it. Otherwise, you'll notice it wrapped inside all those areas. So you have perfect wrap in there.
I'll tell you one thing about this. For a guy like me that's not a particularly good painter, this is nice the way it wraps. It makes it a lot easier getting all the area.
Very easy. Very easy.
Okay, you're going to put that in the oven too now?
Yes, sir.
And again, I want to point out, it is really important. These are all metal hooks, and the charges, the electrical charges in here are really important to this process. Sorry about that, folks. I know we opened the oven door right in your face. Okay, from here, I guess the next logical place is to go to the oven, right?
Yes, sir.
And we're going to see some shiny parts come out, or what?
We're going to see some yellow parts come out just directly.
Folks, don't go away. We're coming right back.
Before we take a part out of the oven, Bill wanted you to see how easy it was to dust by having one of us do it.
This is some of the secret stuff that we're not really going to show the audience. You know about that, right? The real high-tech stuff?
Right.
Okay, now you're afraid to go in there while she's doing this, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're going to have her do it. Robin's a little afraid. That's okay. She brightens up our program. She doesn't have, we got plenty of old ugly guys that can dust these parts, right?
That's true.
Exactly. So we'll do our part of it. Gloria jumped right in. She said she was going to be willing to do it. So go ahead, Gloria, and dust that part. And notice I'm not saying paint like Greg did, because I know this is powder coating. This is not painting, it's powder, and we dust with powder. Looks like she's making progress. I got a feeling she's going to be taking Amanzio's job, if I'm saying it right. Probably not. She's going to be taking his job before the day is over. I can see that happening. And notice how it wrapped almost all the way around. Go ahead and finish it up. Go ahead and finish it up. Okay, good. Stop. Stop. What do you think? Is she going to take your job?
Yeah, I think yes. You do a good job because
Yeah. She's gonna. What do you think? You got a job now?
I think it's real easy. It's fun too.
It is easy and fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Now I think it's time we're going to have a couple of these parts come out of the oven.
When the guys took the frame out of the oven, the first thing we noticed was the almost porcelain-like finish. It was beautiful and really didn't need any more, but Greg insisted it could be improved.
What you are looking at is the bicycle frame that we shot before that went into the oven and has been, and we're not going to give you the times on this. We were letting them off the hook on that, and we're going to come back to recoat this, right?
Correct.
Okay, explain what that means.
We're going to put a second coat on there. What we're doing is we're adding depth to the powder itself, so it looks like it's a lot thicker than it actually is.
Okay, and you're not going to stop there. You're also going to put clear on afterwards, right?
Put a clear on it for durability as well as adding to the depth.
But first you're going to cure this with the second coat on it and then come back and do clear.
Yes, correct.
Okay, Chuck, if you would, go ahead, and if we can cue, what's his name again?
Amancio.
Amancio. Go ahead, Amancio. Go right ahead. And apparently pretty much straightforward the same way as it's done before, right?
Exactly the same way.
Okay. And
again, you have to avoid any contact with anything. You cannot handle the product. You cannot leave fingerprints behind. Those oils will leave a problem on the paint surface.
matter of fact, I should tell the audience that these guys were very careful about handling this. They handle it only on the hooks, and the hooks are always touched to these metal racks.
Correct. That's absolutely
to keep the charge in there.
Yes.
Okay, and it's amazing how easy it is to cover with that. That I got to tell you, that part is easy.
If everything is working properly, all the grounds are in place, the gun is working and tuned correctly, it is very easy to do.
Yes, Gloria.
Doesn't even seem like it takes that long to do.
No, the whole, I can see you were right when we talked about this. 90% of this is preparation.
Absolutely. That's the myth, and that's the bad image that you get because somebody looks at you painting that product. Oh, it only took you 2-3 minutes. What's the problem? Why is this costing so much? They don't realize all the prep work and all the preheats and all the getting all the oils out of it. There's a lot of pre-work that goes into it.
It's like everything else, folks, that we've shown you on Motorsports Unlimited. It's not as easy as it looks. Now, he's done with that part, so that's going to go into the oven again, and I understand you want to do a little more work on those valve covers.
We're ready to get those valve covers in white now.
Okay, folks, we're going to go back into the toy booth, if that's appropriate, into the toy spray booth, and we're going to do a little bit more work on those valve covers.
Powder coating seems to have an almost wet look. Now let's check out a little creative powder coating.
What you are looking at is the valve covers that were dusted before. They've been put into the oven. Are they totally cured? They're not.
No, sir.
Okay, and we're not going to talk about how long it takes because that's secret stuff. And we're also, this is something I kind of talked him into doing. Greg likes to get fancy and artistic with this, so you developed a couple little styles, right?
Yep. What we're going to do is we're going to do a color and color shoot. I'm going to dust it with white, and then you guys are going to go away, and I'm going to do some little magic to it, and then it's going to come back with a nice color trace to it.
You won't let us see the magic?
No.
Okay, well that's all right. He's showing us a part of it anyway. If you would, go right ahead. I thought you were going to do this, Robin.
Not me.
No, Robin's scared to death of the gun. Okay, so far it looks easy. He's just shooting the white powder right on top of the blue that's already done. Looks like he's doing a complete job, just almost as good as the job I did before. He needs a little more practice.
Why would you put the white on top of the blue?
Well, he won't tell us.
Oh,
That's the part he's not going to tell us.
I guess that's a part I didn't hear either.
Yeah, he's not. He won't tell us why he's doing that, and we're going to go away, and then he's going to bring us out and show us how cool it is. This is something he does that he just doesn't want to give the secret away on how he does it. So, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm still kind of over. By the way, as you guys saw in between here, this stuff is not as easy as it looks. This guy is switching switches and turning dials and making adjustments. There's a little bit more to this than than the average guy can do. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes.
Especially when it's more defined with a lot of creases. You have to get every little water in every crease.
To get the wrap.
Yeah.
Okay, now you want us to leave, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, step over here. Folks, we're being thrown out, but we are going to show you the result of what he's trying to accomplish here.
We couldn't help but be curious about what Greg was doing, but all he would show us was the finished part.
What you are looking at is Greg's trick powder coating job, and since he's not going to tell us how he did it, I'm not going to have him in this particular piece. I've got his dad back out here because there is something I want to know. What we're going to do now, and Amuncio, if you would, go right ahead and just continue on, and Chuck, you can wander your shot back over there too while we're talking. What we end up with here, I've described, and I want to make sure I'm accurate because Greg says you're really the big high-tech guy. What we end up here with is not paint at the end done in an unusual way. This is actually an epoxy coating.
That's correct. This is a combination of epoxy for toughness and polyester for outdoor exposure for the hard finish, and it'll keep its gloss a long time.
It is, I guess this wouldn't have been possible without these high-tech, I'm not going to use the word paints, but high-tech coatings. This really wouldn't be possible.
Oh no, these are all pretty recent developments to find out how to co-cure two different chemistries at the same time. And you're right, it wouldn't have been possible 20, 30 years ago.
Okay, and also as he's spraying on the clear, I noticed, and this is kind of interesting, folks, the clear actually is clear, but it's powder.
Correct. When you look at it as it's being applied, it looks like a white dust, but it's going to melt, it's going to flow, bond with the layer underneath because of the techniques that we use, and it'll be all co-cured into one homogeneous layer.
Okay, and one of the things I want to talk about whatever downsides there might be to the powder coating. I understand a couple things you can't powder coat. For example, if you've got a tank on a bike, a motorcycle tank, and it was dented and somebody used Bondo on it, you can't powder coat that, I understand.
That is correct, because the Bondo is not conductive. There are some that are conductive, but the majority of them are just simple polyester resins, putty.
So you can't do it over Bondo, yes?
Is that because it won't stick to it?
It won't take an electrical charge.
Okay.
Right?
The magnetism isn't there because it's not metallic.
It's not metallic. So there's something. So if you've got something, and we've talked about, I had a friend of mine, we're talking about doing this show, and he's got a motorcycle frame that's all been molded, but it's all been molded with Bondo. And he says, find out if that can be done, but that can't be done.
No, it can't.
Okay, so there's one of the things that you have to kind of know all about this. Like every other process, no one process does everything.
That is correct.
Okay, I think he's done in there right now, and it's time for these pieces that we're doing in there to go into the oven. He's doing a little erasing right now to go into the oven, and hopefully when we come back, we're going to take all these pieces out and show you what they look like.
I can honestly tell you that I fully understand powder coating. The process results in a beautiful, durable, colorful, epoxy finish that tolerates high temperatures, thus is usable for engines and has a porcelain-like wet look. Let's wrap things up.
Well, it all started here when I spotted this great boat with all this powder coating on the back and got to talking to Greg and found out that he actually did powder coating, which certainly explains why the whole back of his boat is done in an exquisite powder coating. And then when I saw the engines and I saw how great they looked and they all matched with powder coating, and then he was willing to share the secrets of powder coating with us, I guess the story is at an end now. I talked about the Schwinn bicycles and how impressed I was with the paint schemes of those. I talked about how when you're a machinist or a fabricator and you make parts, how you've got to somehow get something on them that looks nice and keeps the material from corroding right away. And this is one of the solutions. Powder coating isn't perfect. We can't put plastic in there, right?
Only if it'll live at 400 degrees.
And there are very few plastics that'll live at 400 degrees.
Not many at all.
How about carbon fiber?
Carbon fiber, yes, because
Really?
it's conductive.
Carbon fiber will work? It'll stand the heat and everything, the resins that are used?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm surprised at that. So we can do carbon fiber. We can't do...
Thermosets.
I'm sorry?
Thermosets, the high temperature thermosets, which are some phenolics and BMIs.
Okay, so there are. I'm surprised. I didn't know any of that stuff could be powder coated. And I want to tell the audience right now, Chuck, come in on this. This is absolutely the silkiest, smoothest, glossiest paint. And this is titanium, am I correct?
Correct.
So titanium works too, even though I assume a magnet won't stick to titanium. In fact, I know it won't stick to titanium.
No, but it's the same principle as a balloon. Static charge.
It will take a charge, so it will work on titanium. And this is absolutely just as silky and pretty. What do you think, Robin? Did you really feel that powder coating would be this cool when you came down here?
I thought it would.
You were expecting this, and it looks that way. And of course, his real trick thing that he did here on the valve covers, he's not going to tell us about. And I can't, even off camera, I couldn't get him to tell us about this. This is just another creative way of using this. And let's not forget Gloria, all the way down here at this end. Gloria actually dusted her own piece. Dusted, Greg. This is not painting.
Dusted. My mistake. Dusted.
Okay.
Yes.
Dusted. Actually dusted her own piece, and it came out nice, didn't it?
Gorgeous.
It came out nice. However, if you were here, probably on camera it looks the same. This was done in the same color as this. However, this was done with one dusting, go into the oven, done. This was done with 2 dustings, oven in between, and then a clear coat on top, and then ovened again. Am I saying this? The terms are probably wrong. Ovened?
No, oven is correct. Yes.
Oven is correct. Okay, one more thing I want to touch on here is the durability, because that's the thing that I'm most impressed about. As a matter of fact, I'm sorry, Chuck, I know I'm running you around. Matter of fact, you said you worked with Mercury Marine on this stuff, on the props.
We've done some of the trial shifts, yes.
Yes, and what they did was they took a prop like this, which is a stainless prop, and they took one that was powder coated, and they have a test where they put a certain percentage of salt water and fresh water and run the prop in there until the stainless starts to get dull, pull them out, and the powder coating is still shiny and nice.
Yes, as well as a high sand content. So it's just
high sand content?
Yeah, it's mixing it like a giant blender. So it just constantly turns in there until the dullness starts to appear.
And the powder coating is outperforming
the polished stainless.
Just absolutely amazing. I want to come down here, and first of all, I want to thank these two guys. They've been real good sports about how I've been brutally butchering their name, and I want you to say your name for the audience one more time.
Okay, Amancio Abraham.
Amancio, that's not that hard. How come I'm having such a tough time with it? Amancio Abraham, just like in Lincoln, right?
Yeah. But I don't have a monster.
But you okay, and once again, your name?
Michael.
Okay, Miguel, he says it's okay to call him Mike. They all call him Mike.
Yeah.
One thing I want to show you over here, folks, this is a piece that's been powder coated, and Amancio, if you would hold the mic for me, just about like that, so I can show the audience. Go ahead and hold the mic. Okay. Just like that. Hold it up here. Okay, Chuck, can you come in on this? Is this possible here? I want to take it, actually bend this piece. It's been powder coated, and can you come in on that, Chuck, and see that the stuff does not, you got it, it works. And now I'm going to unbend it and show you the other side. You'd expect there to be some crinkling or crumpling. Come in on that. Can you see it, Chuck? Okay, if you need it closer, say so. You got it. Okay, it's absolutely amazing. We bent this thing over back and forth like that, and the stuff doesn't peel or crack. Now, I've got another piece over here that's been bent back and forth, and Chuck, can you come in on this? Bent back and forth 150 times. And can you come in on that? Is it visible, Chuck, or should I change the angle? Yeah, that's good. Good? Just like that? That's been bent back and forth 150 times, and it still hasn't come off. This stuff is really, really amazing. But again, none of it would mean anything if all it came in was khaki. The fact that literally every color under the sun, no, it's got to be cool for racing, am I right?
Oh, it is. Yes.
No question about it. And as I understand it, pretty much any custom color on any custom car can be matched.
You can match any color, period. Anything that's made that currently is a color can be matched.
It's just absolutely amazing what can be done with this. Now, I have one final question for these guys. And I know I'm going to embarrass them. I want to first of all thank all these guys from Gorilla Powder Coating, but I've got to ask you, why Gorilla?
Well, we needed a name that no one would forget. If you heard it once, you should retain it.
Okay, and what he told me before when I asked him that question off camera, I thought that was a cute answer. He also says, just like you would, why the girls with the feathers with motorsports? So somebody notices.
Absolutely. It's something you'll retain instantly.
You're exactly right. Now listen, we got to close things up here. Is there anything we haven't said that we should say? Anything we've left out? We've been perfect.
Very thorough.
John?
Exactly.
Okay, well listen, I want to put our brand new girl to work here one more time. So if I can take this out of your hands and give this to you, don't nick it. Well, it won't nick now that I think of it. And I know this is all new to Robin. She has no idea what I'm going to do to her here. I want you to step right over here. I want you to look over the camera with that cute little face. I want you to tell the audience.
Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
This was my first show, and it was fun and educational. Now let's see if we have time to show you a little more of the fun part.
have it, folks. Powder coating, a modern finish offering a whole new world of creativity. Think about it. Once again, we're out of time too soon, with only enough left to acknowledge the fine work of our award-winning production team, including Chuck Itzenthaler, Sue Casanda, John Papke, and Tom McGrady. Special thanks to JBTV's Jerry Bryant. Music is created for us by Fireside Recording Studio in Westchester, Illinois, and by independent artists Roger Pauley and Jerry Herbert. Of course, we have to take a moment to thank the stars of this edition of Motorsports Unlimited: Gloria Walters, Robin Hole, and our host, Bill Wildt. Me? I'm Perry Williams, feeling good because I learned a lot today and hope you did too. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
This program made possible in part by support from Bridgestone Firestone and your local Bridgestone Firestone tire retailers.
This program made possible in part by support from Jimmy's Red Hots, located on Grand Avenue and Pulaski Road in Chicago.
This program made possible in part by support from Merlin's Muffler and Brake, located on Mannheim Road between Grand and Fullerton in Franklin Park, Illinois.
Motorsports Unlimited is produced by Bill Wildt, president of the Motorsport Advancement Crusade.
This program made possible in part by support from Westbrook Auto Repair, located on Franklin Avenue and Dora Street in Franklin Park, Illinois.
This program made possible in part by support from Sound FX Mobile Electronics, located on Grand Avenue near Harlem in Elmwood Park, Illinois.
This program made possible in part by support from ABC Auto Parts, located on Ashland Avenue at 138th Street in Blue Island, Illinois.
The Motorsport Advancement Crusade is a non-profit organization dedicated to the preservation and enhancement of motorsport. We are entirely funded by voluntary contributions. For more information, write Motorsport. Oh, you can write the whole thing, Motorsport Advancement Crusade, if you'd like. But mail gets to us just fine, addressed Motorsport, P.O. Box 66242, Chicago, Illinois 60666. Or just call area code 773-478-4224. We enjoy hearing from our audience and encourage you to call or write.
Next week, we're going to our first summer car show.
And of course, we're going to have to include a 50 Merc.
And we found a great Ferrari replica.
All next week on Motorsports Unlimited.
So that's it, another edition of Motorsports Unlimited and the lovely ladies of motorsports. And be with us next week because we'll have something real exciting. Bill Wildt's going to have the lovely ladies, and just about anything can happen right here on Motorsports Unlimited. Every week at this time, we bring you the best in motorsports. So be seeing ya. Bye-bye. And keep on rocking.